the beginning, we start to think about the community living style because it's what we saw in the building. So it was clear that the people living in a place like this, they share spaces, they live communal. It's not done on individual flats, no?
The
bad state of.
yeah, okay. So the bad state of nature is really connected with the bad state of human beings' inner world, right? When you consume even more, the state of the nature goes even worse. The anxiety in your body says, "Hey, hello, what's wrong?" The whole anxiety and the whole the inner feeling, they don't go away. So it's kind of a spiral, and there's a really interesting picture in nature. There, for example, these specific type of ant that kind of can lose its way. It starts to walk in a circle, and the thing is that this spiral ends up in a collective mass death. They say, well, we are really like going forward. We are going forward, right? Yeah, but in a spiral. There are some individuals more and more who says there's something wrong here, right? Or, we have to change course. We have to change course, otherwise we will die. And that's what is very interesting with these kind of eco communities. They kind of say, well, we cannot wait for the politicians. If you really acknowledge the severity of the situation that we're in, the collective death spiral that we are in, you would not be afraid of being socially excluded because you're dying anyways, right? So that's the whole point. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to read something to you so you understand what we're doing. So we're doing an architectural research project on sustainable living in Europe. And yeah, looking into the self-organized communities and if they in any way can be a driver towards the green transition.
We're both interested in how things are organized and why it is, but also people's personal takeaways.
Why they've chosen to live like that? What are their motivations? How does it kind of propose a new way of living?
So first, can you tell us where we are right now?
Yeah.
No, you should just look at us. Yeah. That's fine.
Not so familiar.
We are in Kovo, which is a community project.
You're in Cambio, in the southeast of Austria.
We are at a housing project called Bikes and Rails in the 10th district of Vienna.
Where we are, here in Zurich.
We are in Hackbridge in South London.
We are at the Kalkweite. That's, I don't know, like an Genossenschaft, the community, something like that. Yeah.
So they're going to be, like I said, there's one apartment already here in the upper corner. And these are going to be two-floor apartments.
Okay. So why did you choose to be a part of this project? Why?
Me personally?
Yeah, you.
I don't know. For me, when I came here, like the question was quite: can we live? Can we all have a good life within like planetary boundaries?
I don't want to live alone, so that was, the goal, to find a place where I can live with other peoples, because it's too boring.
When I heard all about the kind of the eco side of it and also the kind of community focus of living here, then that's what really attracted me to it.
Well, I like when more than just living happens in one place. It's because when you're in a city, you're really become really compartmentalized, and you're in your apartment, and you leave it and you come back. This is more like a village in a city. I don't want to move out of the city, but I want the village feeling.
On a social level, I feel there's so much support within the community in different aspects of life, where it would be very difficult to handle crises that are people falling to depression or like also happy events, childbirth, but you need support in just like 2 weeks, and that's happening here.
No, and I don't want to pay rent for the rest of my life to assholes. It's yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I forgot what is boredom. Like, or I don't know. But really, I don't know what is. I don't know the feeling of feeling bored. It doesn't exist anymore since 7 years, and I really miss it a bit. And what is really strange, like, I don't know, when thinking about utopias, it was okay creating places where you can do whatever you want, where you can do what you want without doing too much harm, and creating opportunities. And then you have this place with a garden and workshops, and actually that's what you were thinking of, because you can do everything here. And then it's really challenging to deal in everyday life with that opportunities.
So you see, it's much more than just say, oh, we are a group of friends, we want to live collectively, it's cool, and we do a little project. It's way more than that. It has to do also with the way we live as a society, where I see that collectivity and sharing have a lot more to offer. And I could go on, the environmental benefits of sharing. We're also doing some research on that, exploring, is it really more sustainable if you share than if you don't share?
My goal was to kind of see if I could quantify the community influence on environmental behavior. It's a bit technical, but anyway, so we have this kind of a measure of environmental behavior on the one side, and then I can measure it in carbon footprints yearly, and then I can kind of statistically also ask them about a lot of other things and see how they influence the environmental behavior.
Also from an ecological point of view, everybody moving in has an ecological motivation. And for example, we had a family moving in, and they always refused to use cars. And so now we live in the countryside now, but it's bikeable to Graz. We can bike. I think nobody would have tried it, but they come in and they biked and developed. Well, it's possible to do it. I can do it as well. And other people focus on food supply. They organize the food cup, and engineers calculating about our energy system. And I would not have done it. I could not have done. I'm not that much interest, but I'm very happy that somebody did. So with a very efficient and eco-friendly energy system in place here.
I think one of the most important questions as politicians and individuals and researchers to pose today. How do we get good life? It is possible to get the good life with simple means but rich in ends, right? And we should start posing the question, what makes people truly happy, right? And until now, especially in Western cultures, we have kind of privatized and outsourced the question of what makes you happy.
we didn't invent anything, because old village in the past has spaces that do not belongs to any specific family, like the church. The church is a space of everyone. And the square, the big square in the middle, or the place for the market.
Would you have any advice, let's say, for a new community to start up from your long experience?
I don't know this. Because then you can say, I could think a lot of things to do different, but then reality is, what you do is not just what you have in your mind. There is, when you are in a group, there are a mind of a lot of people, and then there is the place, there is the contest.
I think we always it was always important for us that the people who live here are different ages, different sexes, different job background and stuff like that, and it worked more or less okay. But of course, it's not ideal. So lots of us are academics and stuff like that. So this could, of course, this could be more diversity.
I didn't get the
No, okay. I
no,
think
but I'm curious.
I think the question is, because it sounds like you're very good at socially creating a safe space and making sure your community works. And then I wonder, sometimes we see these communities that moves out and create a space for each other, but then
they're like
they become a bubble somehow.
Yeah, no.
So I'm curious if you have any reflections on how you could break the bubble, or if you think it's could also be that the bubble is fine, or it shouldn't be criticized, or it could be that it should. Yeah. Did that make sense? That was also.
No. I think we are a bubble. And it's not so easy to break up this bubble. For me, I don't know if it answers your question, but when I talk to people, and very often the first time it is, well, it's a very interesting kind of place you have, but I can never think of living there. And a lot of my closest friends say that, and that's for me the hardest thing to realize, that this is not an alternative. Like 99% of the people cannot imagine to live like this.
And do you know why they can't? Do they tell you that?
Often they say, I think it would be socially overloading. Like they feel like, like deciding things together, or being that close, or we're so much used to our private sphere and our individualistic way of living that I think this is a thing that we're not used to anymore.
So a question for us remains if these self-organized communities can be seen as enclosures themselves, and therefore not ensure accessibility, even though they might otherwise be affordable to a variety of people.
That's a very good question, and indeed I recognize the criticism. This is something we usually discuss when we have meetings with other researchers, and also when I present my work in more to the general public. There are always people who highlight this, let's say, this feature that can be criticized, rightly so, the exclusivity. This is only for the happy few. Some people say, you need to have a degree of social capital, cultural capital to be able to realize these projects and so on. So the principles of this collaborative housing, I believe, can be transferred to other systems to make it more accessible to other populations.
We were all of us naive in those things. We didn't know, we didn't understand really. We just knew we had this kind of picture of what we wanted to do, and we just went at it, and it happened. And we look back on it now, and we think it was quite miraculous, really. It's really because we were inexperienced, all of us, in that sort of stuff. But I think we all had a lot of passion, and it was the passion that drove it.
What are the biggest challenges here as a community?
I would ask different people and to get different answers, but from my perspective,
Yeah, from your perspective.
I would like to run a cheaper project. There's people who cannot move in because they cannot afford it. You need to pay in at least 20% of the construction cost, which was €2,600 per square meter. Yeah, so it's a little more exclusive than I want it to be.
Did they have to pay something to move in, or?
We wish that every person puts at least €2,000 inside, but it's not a must, because for us it's very important we all come from. It would be very unfair to treat every person equally, because we all have different economic backgrounds. So.
And then the community grew, and what we didn't know is it would grow into something, became this kind of site which is now very expensive to live on because people want to be there. Whereas the people who first came and built, they only just scraped enough money together to do it. And now those houses, some of those houses, well, there's one actually is worth over $1 million. You know, and it's kind of, it's not. So we now look back and think, well, should we have done something about that? But we didn't know. We had no idea that it would turn out that way.
So this will be the big common room for everybody. Like, and there will be a door in the small garden. It's not super big, but yeah, it's like the common area for people who live here.
Yeah.
I mean, how ecological is it to do new buildings? I mean, some parts we had to tear down. It's already not as ecological as we hoped. But we tried to make the most sensible choices with the money we have. It's also something we have to balance out.
But then we also meet the question on should we even build more in a Northern European context, or can we build, let's say, sustainable enough in these types of projects?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is part of a wider conversation about urban development more broadly, how we want to develop our cities, our regions, our built environment, and within it, housing. There's a lot more cooperative, co-housing, etc., different models of collaborative living that could happen in existing stock. But at the moment, it's incredibly difficult for citizens or residents, the people who are going to live in these projects, to access these opportunities. Because usually we see that it happens at a very large scale. It's very institutional. So for instance, you have a big office building that you want to convert into housing. So who is leading that process? Who is making the decisions? Who is going to live here? But of course, you could be contributing much more to sustainability if you would be reusing and adapting. It's much more complex at the moment. So it's not an easy road for the groups. So my answer is you need to change the system of how we look at housing production and how we look at the role of the residents, the future residents in this chain.
But the true transformations, the true big changes, they come when individuals or a group of individuals start to following the potentials rather than the possibilities. People always say, oh, that's not going to happen because it's not happened before, right? That's the probability. But the potential is actually that it could happen. It's a matter if you dare to follow those potentials. And that is a lot easier if you do it in a group.
Whenever we're finished with paying back, we will still continue paying rent, and this rent is going into other projects like these because we want to make this idea bigger and to like free more venues or more buildings from speculation. That's the political idea of it.
So yes, in terms of this, no, you cannot do things, decide collectively or live collectively or solve conflicts easier or deal differently with money, I think all these issues, for me now it's more easy to say yes, you can at least try.
Yeah.
But of course, we cannot claim to have the solution or anything. But I feel I'm glad to at least try it.
Yeah.
You cannot trust me to know what you want when I can't trust you. Come again, come again. I don't understand the thing of the things you say. You better be careful what you do to me. I do not know where you'd rather be. You could make it so much easier.